We both love science, and we think that girls should love science, and we want to know a little bit more about girls in science and the issues that surround that.
Yeah, so there's actually a big issue in girls in science beyond the K-12 classroom. It also goes into the actual scientific community. So the root of that issue really is in the schools, and how can we as teachers promote girls to go into these STEM routes? We asked two main questions: why and when do girls leave science, as well as how can we keep them interested and engaged with science?
Yeah, so the following bibliography will tell you a little bit more about that and a little bit about the answers we found and what all of us can do as educators to help girls in science want to be more involved and stick with it.
Blum and Gann did a study asking the question when girls lose interest in science and math. They studied a group of girls in grades 4 through 8 and asked them to respond to a survey along the scale of 1, strongly dislike the subject, to 5, strongly like the subject. They asked the girls to respond to history, math, science, and social studies, and compared the subjects and their interest decline or increase throughout the grades. What they found was girls lost an interest in science and math each year. There was not a strong dislike towards these subjects, but every subject for math and science declined to a 3 neutral stage, which is upsetting because a lot of times you really get into science at the upper levels. This is a big deal for Maria and I because we're both upper level science people. We'll be engaging with girls in science after they've already lost interest. So the question is, how do we re-engage them?
In the article by Kits, they did a survey of high school students where they asked them why don't they do science and what are their opinions about science, and it was found that most people didn't have any sexist. They didn't think that science was only for old white men, so that's good, but they found that people didn't want to go into science because they thought math was too hard and they didn't really see any scientists in their own life, which is also sad because your teachers are scientists. So the article suggested that we need to work on making sure students have those role models, especially girls that they can relate to and that they can see as actual scientists.
It's important to engage girls in science outdoors so they know science isn't just in a lab room. One study showed that by engaging girls in a summer outside field camp program, that not only ruined their leadership skills, but found science to be more interesting and more appealing, not only because of it's not just stuck in the lab atmosphere, but because they saw it as an opportunity to travel, meet new people, and see new places. Not only did engaging girls outside increase their perceptions on science as a whole, but girls said the perceptions on science changed from prior to their field experience to after. They felt more engaged in science and felt like it was more applicable to their life.
In the article by Christine, students in science preparatory programs, boys and girls, were surveyed of what they were going to do after high school and what they liked during high school and what kind of sciences they preferred. And it was mainly found that girls were choosing biology or veterinary programs, and they wanted to know why. And it was found that mostly the girls were going with more career-specific choices, where the boys were going just towards a path of excellence when they choose science because they thought it was just great, so that's why they chose it. So this survey made students select a specific important choice, and I think it would have been better if they were able to rank, and then they would have gotten better results as to why girls are choosing specifically biology and veterinary programs where boys are just choosing more general science programs. In a study by Park, Berman, and Choi, they focused on our single-sex versus co-educational schools. Is there a difference in the outcomes of STEM? The answer was, meh, not significant one, but they did notice a slight but not significant positive outcome for STEM in the all-girls schools because there seem to be more female teachers, which goes back to the whole being a role model. This also shows that anyone can be successful in science and can do STEM, which I think is the main thing we were trying to get at, is that why are girls leaving? How do we keep them? And they all can, so why not?
Spearman and Watt did a survey in Australia about students and their perceptions of their classroom environment and how they perceive science. This was all female students, so the survey could have been improved by including males so they could compare. But overall, they found that classrooms that had clear and high expectations for the girls, as well as provided quality feedback, were environments the girls preferred. The perceptions of the students outweighed those of the teachers in how well the students wanted to succeed in the class. This is beneficial for all teachers, not just science teachers, to know that high expectations motivate students, and providing a warm and welcoming environment pushes them to succeed. So, in conclusion, it is possible to keep girls engaged in science, even though we saw a study that said they lose interest as early as 5th grade. We can do this by encouraging them to engage in science outside of the lab in field experiences to show that science isn't just about experiments.
And we can be role models that they need. We can be the scientists that they see in their daily lives, and we can support them and whenever they want to do. And I think this can go for even non-science teachers and just supporting what your kids want to do and supporting their passions.
Yeah, you can support kids to explore any subject more. Help them engage in what's outside of your class. Show them what the real person would do in your academic area or what you did in college. So, with that, rock on, y'all.